What is up, you guys? John Brecco here. Excuse the voice a little bit. And I'm coming back to you guys with another sports video. This one's about the NFL playoffs divisional round. Just wanted to give you guys some of my thoughts, break it down a little bit, and give you a couple of predictions for next week's AFC and NFC championship game. Most of it is just me going to be breaking down the stories that took place over the divisional round week of the NFL playoffs. And from there, we're going to get into predictions, which again will be the short part of the video. And then after that, I'll let you guys be. You guys can be on your way. But before we get started in talking about that, I just want to make sure that I tell you guys to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Right now, I'll say this again at the end of the video as well. Our goal is 500 subscribers by the end of April and 1,500 subscribers by the end of 2024. So I just wanted to let you guys know to please do that. We can't make these goals happen without you. And before we get started officially with our topic of the day, thank you guys so much. We really, really appreciate it. Anyways, we're talking about the NFL playoffs divisional round. 4 matchups took place. The first one was between the Ravens and the Texans. The second one was between the Packers and the 49ers. The third one was between the Lions and the Buccaneers. And the last one that took place was between the Chiefs and the Bills. So the Baltimore Ravens picked up the win over the Houston Texans by a score of 34-10. The Packers and the 49ers picked up a narrow victory by a score of 24-21. Lions versus Buccaneers was tied going into the fourth quarter. Lions won the game 31-23. The Chiefs versus the Bills had about 5 or 6 lead changes in it, and the Kansas City Chiefs ended up pulling it out over the Buffalo Bills once again in the playoffs by a score of 27-24. We will get into the reasons why for all these games, but those are the results of your NFL divisional round games. First up for us to talk about the Ravens versus the Texans. There were big stories, like I said, going into all 4 of these games. The Baltimore Ravens are led by Lamar Jackson, their 27-year-old quarterback who's playing in the first year of his big money contract worth a total of $216 million. He's also in the first year where he has an offense around him that can make a difference in the Ravens' trajectory as far as their chances at Super Bowl rings go. He has reliable number 1 options at the wide receiver position, which he has never had in his career until this season. And considering the way he's played, not only in their win against the Houston Texans, but the way he's played all season long, he was obviously eager to prove that his team made the right decision in paying him. Many teams said they were not interested in Lamar Jackson, and even Baltimore was hesitant to pay him the big money contract he thought he deserved. After Jalen Hurts became the highest player in the league with a 5-year, $255 million contract, the precedent was set for Lamar Jackson to make an extra $1 million per year for his deal. Only 2 quarterbacks get paid more at this current moment per year, and only 3 quarterbacks are getting paid more in total dollars in their contracts. Justin Herbert only makes $500,000 more yearly after his deal was done, which to us regular people, that sounds like a lot of money. But you're talking about 9-figure contracts. This is nothing at all in terms of a big money deal like that. Joe Burrow is the only other quarterback in the NFL who makes more than Lamar Jackson, the only other player, on a yearly basis at $55 million a year. Patrick Mahomes does make less per year than all 3 of those quarterbacks. However, the total value that Mahomes is getting paid in his deal is greater than Lamar Jackson's. Remember, when Mahomes got his big money contract, it was a 10-year, $450 million contract. I believe it came out to $503 million with potential bonuses. But that was the largest contract in American sports when it came to total dollars. So a couple people do make more than Patrick Mahomes yearly. Lamar Jackson, through his contract, is one of them. But with that being said, Mahomes is still going to get the most amount of dollars at the end of his deal that has been set. But The point is, nobody was jumping at the chance to pay Lamar Jackson for a big-time contract. The reason why, most likely, is because of his skill set. Most quarterbacks these days are dual threats who are capable of running with the football, but you don't think of the quarterback running with the football first most of the time. Even today, Lamar Jackson is the clearest exception of that in the NFL today. When you think of Lamar Jackson, you think of the most electrifying runner since Michael Vick and maybe the most electrifying runner in the history of the NFL. I'm sure going to and winning a Super Bowl would make some doubters start to see this. With that being said, nobody with Lamar Jackson's skill set has ever won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles probably became the closest to winning this with this skill set when he went to the Super Bowl last year. He's not the runner Lamar Jackson is, but I believe he's the next best thing. Even after the way this year has gone, I personally will probably still take Jalen Hurts over Lamar Jackson in terms of throwing the football. So if Lamar Jackson wins it all this year, it proves that the run-first quarterback can succeed and win championships at the highest level. Knowing how talented Lamar Jackson is, you then have to ask yourself, what's the first thing that his doubters can point to? It's a very simple question to that answer. It's his playoff record. He was 1-3 in the postseason before this game, currently 2-3 now. The first year he got the Baltimore Ravens into the playoffs, his team had a first-round bye, a 14-2 record in the regular season. They were going into their game against the Tennessee Titans on a 12-game win streak, and Lamar Jackson was about to win his first NFL MVP award in a few more weeks. They lost that game in one of the more shocking upsets in that year's playoffs as the Tennessee Titans went on to play the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium that year to ultimately lose to the eventual Super Bowl 54 champs. They averaged about 13 points per game before this season, and 3 of those 4 contests, he went without scoring a touchdown in the first 3 quarters. Knowing this, knowing the contract that Lamar got, the pressure was on him to perform this time like never before. And before I keep reading off my notes, I just want to sit here and say that Lamar Jackson is an electrifying runner of the football. He's an electrifying talent. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I believe he has more than shown that over the course of this year with the receivers that he has at his disposal. Baltimore actually went out and got him some talent for once. And on top of that, they have a good defense this year. So I believe with the necessary tools around him, Lamar Jackson has been able to show how valuable he is to the Ravens organization. And I believe he is proving that he can succeed. I think a lot of people, to see that would have to see him win a Super Bowl to really call it success. But as of right now, I think he's been proving that over the course of this season. Likely winning a second NFL MVP in a couple of weeks. And likely, well, we'll see what happens as far as the games go. But with that being said, where was I over here? This was especially true when he was going up against the Houston Texans. He had that pressure on him like we talked about beforehand, right? This team was expected to be one of the worst teams in the league as usual this season. I'm talking about the Houston Texans here. They had a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach, and while they had young talent and the future looked bright, especially with C.J. Stroud throwing the football, showing what he could do over the season, no one expected them to have the success that they had. No one expected a winning season. They went 10-7. No one expected a playoff berth. They beat the brakes off the Cleveland Browns, who looked like a possible Super Bowl contender and the Ravens' biggest potential threat, and won a playoff game. Instead, their rookie quarterback, again, C.J. Stroud, showed you why they're called the Cleveland Browns, because they played like shit. That's what happened. Let's be real about that. You could think that joke is corny if you want, but it's relevant. Forget winning a Super Bowl. The Browns are only one of 4 teams to never appear in one. The Texans and the Jaguars are 2 of the other 4, but their first seasons are 49 and 56 years after the Cleveland Browns' inaugural season. The only team that's been around longer without a Super Bowl appearance, much less a win, is the Detroit Lions. So what's the difference between the Lions and the Browns? One of those teams is still in the playoffs. The Detroit Lions are one game away from their first ever Super Bowl appearance, and we'll talk about the Lions later. I don't think they'll beat San Francisco, but they're good enough to be in the mix now, and in my opinion, years to come. Jared Goff early in the season was an MVP candidate. Point is, quarterback for the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud, head coach DeMeco Ryans, and their team far exceeded expectations for this season and are honestly playing with house money going into this game. All the pressure, again, was on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, and let's be honest, they delivered. Going into that fourth quarter, the game was still relatively close. The score was 17-10. The Ravens defense was able to hold off the Texans from getting any offensive touchdowns in the entire game. In fact, the Texans' lone touchdown in this game was a 67-yard punt return from Steven Sims, which did tie the score at 10 in the first half. However, once that fourth quarter game, it was the Lamar Jackson show. He threw a touchdown pass to Isaiah Likely early in the quarter, and then with 6:20 left in regulation, he ran for 8 yards to put the final nail in the coffin. The Ravens would go on to win 34-10, and despite C.J. Stroud's performance last week and his tremendous upside that he showed playing in the NFL in the future, he can't prevent the Houston Texans from going home in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. The other game that took place this past Saturday was between the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. Jordan Love, like C.J. Stroud, was only making his second playoff start after a dominant victory, and his victory was an even more shocking one over the Dallas Cowboys. You could kind of see the Houston Texans definitely winning that football game. I mean, I thought the Browns were going to do it. I thought the Browns had the experience on their side, and I thought the Browns were going to be able to outplay the Houston Texans as far as playoff football was concerned. But obviously that didn't end up being the case. The Browns had a good team on paper, and I thought they were going to do something, but as I already said, they showed you why they're the Cleveland Browns. So that happened. But the Packers not only won this game in which they were underdogs in, they did so in dominant fashion. The Cowboys were down by a score of 48-16 in this game with around 6 minutes left or so in regulation. They did score 16 more points before time expired, but once we hit a 32-point deficit with such limited time, the game was already all but decided. Once again, the Dallas Cowboys failed to reach the NFC Championship game, which has continued over the course of 3 decades. With that team that was around the Dallas Cowboys, their top-level defense led by Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb having a tremendous season, and Dak Prescott being in consideration for the MVP award this season, much more was expected of this team, just like in years past. However, they failed to live up to expectations yet again. This time, what stopped them was a quarterback with talent and a bright future, but was only in his first full year as a starter. Remember, Aaron Rodgers started his first 3 years while he was there, and though he's had some moments where he has played, he's had some moments where he's looked pretty good, we couldn't definitively say what his future would look like in the NFL with such a little sample size. But I think he's proven that he could absolutely lead this team going forward. But again, the Cowboys failed to live up to expectations. They failed to beat or even compete with a good coach in Matt LaFleur, who proved his worth on this team and proved he wasn't just a coach hiding behind Aaron Rodgers and his greatness when he played in Green Bay. But this was a young, inexperienced Green Bay team showing the world that there may be a better quarterback, not just on the other side of the ball that day, but in Texas as well. The NFL as a whole really showed that, but that's how I have it written on my notes. So it made it easier to read and process. But yeah, Dak Prescott may not even be the best quarterback in Texas, y'all. I might take C.J. Stroud over him. I'm sorry. This isn't about the Cowboys, though. This is about the red-hot Green Bay team that gave the San Francisco 49ers all that they could handle. There was inclement weather caused by the rain. Brock Purdy had trouble gripping the ball throughout the game and seemed uncharacteristically lacking in confidence. This could be because of the rain. This could be because Actually, somebody correct me because I could be wrong about this. Was Deebo Samuel in the lineup or not? I just want to make it 100% clear. But, and we are going to talk about this, he may not be in the lineup for Detroit on Sunday when they do play in the game. But I just want to make that clear 100% because I do have it written that he wasn't in the lineup. And if that's true, this could be because of the inclement weather. This could be because of both factors or something else entirely. So if I don't have that 100% right, somebody please let me know if he was in the lineup or not. I would really, really appreciate that. But with that being said, Brock Purdy wasn't looking confident out there, and inclement weather was absolutely a factor. Brock Purdy ultimately did finish the game, completing 23 out of 39 pass attempts with one touchdown pass on the day, which looked like decent numbers, but numbers don't always tell the story of the lack of confidence that's displayed on the field. With that being said, until the 49ers absolutely needed a touchdown to win, being down 21-17 on a drive where Brock Purdy made several critical throws, he managed to get his team into the end zone with 1:07 left to play, with a little help from a 6-yard run from Christian McCaffrey, who had a huge game to his credit as well. Finished the final San Francisco 49er drive, allowing them to escape like Harry Houdini out of a straitjacket with a 24-21 victory, in turn allowing the 49ers to advance to the NFC Championship game. Before we talk about the opponent of the San Francisco 49ers, I want to talk about a couple things about this team in general. I'm going to make a part 2 to this, by the way, just because my phone's running out of battery. So we will talk about probably the other 2 games in that video. And I do want to sit here and mention that I do have another video planned after that, and I'll be asking you guys a certain question. That'll kind of help me move forward as I make my video. So I'm going to address that when we get to the end of this video, but I just wanted to say that now. So first things first, we got to talk about Brock Purdy, their quarterback. Many people have said that he's a system quarterback or a game manager, and that he's good because of the 49ers system and personnel. While this is debatable, what's not debatable is the at least flash of greatness that he showed in a game-winning drive in the playoffs. Admittedly, the 49ers don't ask a lot out of Brock Purdy, but when he was called upon to come through, shout out to my cat in the video, by the way, he did not disappoint, which in my opinion, that goes a long way to proving he's more than a game manager. Next up, before we talk about the opponent of the 49ers next week, is Christian McCaffrey. There's a reason why I wanted to save Christian McCaffrey for last when talking about this game. Christian McCaffrey, over the course of this season, has carried the ball 272 times for over 1,450, I don't think that sounded clear, and 14 touchdowns. He's averaged nearly 5.5 yards a carry. In this game in particular, he rushed for nearly 6 yards a carry and had 2 touchdowns. He also caught 7 passes in this game, only for an extra 30 yards, I believe. Again, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that is another facet of his game. He can catch passes now. Christian McCaffrey had played so well that he has been a candidate for MVP himself, which is unfortunately a quarterback award these days. I will say that the last player to win NFL MVP that wasn't a quarterback was a running back, but that was over a decade ago now. There are many different pieces that teams have to game plan for when they are playing the San Francisco 49ers. Christian McCaffrey is just one of those pieces, and he deserves to be mentioned considering he did score the final 7 points, taking this team to the next round. They have a tough matchup ahead of them, which again, we will talk about in the next video. I will be making a part 2 to this since my phone is about to die, and I think it would look pretty bad to have this cut out while I'm in mid-recording. So I do want to say really quick, thank you guys again for supporting the channel. I really, really appreciate it. Before I go, I do want to say that I will be addressing a question to you guys after I release the part 2 to this video about what you guys want to see moving forward. So, with that being said, I want to say one more time, make sure you guys like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Once again, our goal is 500 subscribers by the end of April and 1,500 subscribers by the end of 2024. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown of what happened in Saturday's games in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and I will be bringing you Sunday's games as soon as I can. Once again, I genuinely appreciate the love. Thank you guys so much for the support. We really appreciate it. Keep it up, you guys. Deuces.